Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the I Hate Marketing podcast. This is our second episode, and I would love for you all to go ahead and listen to the first one. I straightened my hair today, but it looks kind of stupid with these headphones on, but I just feel like I needed to have the headphones on so I can hear myself. This is only relevant to people who are watching on YouTube, which so far is zero, but that's okay. But anyways, so if you haven't already listened to the first episode, I'd go ahead and give some insight as to why I'm a huge shit talker when it comes to marketing. I feel like that's kind of relevant considering the name of this podcast. But anyways, I want to just dive into oh my gosh, I'm a mess. I want to dive into today's episode because I have a serious bone to pick with Instagram. And it's really funny because when I first wrote this, like my notes for this episode, it was before Instagram even announced that they're no longer a photo sharing app. And so I was originally going to be ranting about Reels and algorithm, which I might talk about a little bit, but I actually want to talk about like my thoughts about what's going to probably happen to Instagram and what business owners should be doing moving forward. So obviously it's absolute crap that Instagram is no longer a photo sharing app, and they really screwed themselves over because, and I'm going to read off my notes here because this is just really hard hitting information. First of all, they're leaving a gap in the market, which sucks on their end, but better for other people to be innovative and come in with a new app, which I believe there's one I've seen. I'm following them on TikTok. They're called Herd Social. You guys should go check it out. I'm not personally on that yet, but Instagram is kind of stupid because they were the only ones really doing what they were doing. Even though they weren't doing it that well, in my opinion, they were still the only one, right? Now there's a gap and Pinterest doesn't really fill it. And I can't really think of any other platforms, honestly, that fill that photo sharing app, like gap, I guess. And here's the thing, I don't want to make it seem like Instagram was absolute crap, because for business owners they did have a lot of features that I felt like were pretty useful. What sucked though is just it obviously became more focused on businesses and less focused on consumers, like the consumer experience, like how they moved the notification tab, which is funny because if you have a business account, the notification tab stayed the same. But for consumers, the shop button was replaced. So it's just like they didn't really take into consideration the fact that these are just normal people that are on this app as well. I think they could have done a better job at, speaking with people and figuring out a good way to combine the two. But moving on anyways. So here is reason number 2 why they screwed themselves. And it's they are now in this never ending rat race with TikTok. They made it very clear that they feel like video content is what the move is. But really the thing is platforms need to just be secure and confident with doing what they want to do. If people want to watch videos, they're going to watch them on TikTok. They're not going to watch them on Pinterest. They're not going to, well, I don't know. That's not true, I guess. Pinterest sometimes, is nice, but like YouTube, for example, has like a reel tab. Basically, like my boyfriend watches it and there's some of the stupidest videos I've ever seen in my life. Reels are all just repurposed TikToks. There's apps called like Tik Save that allow you to remove your watermarks. Like they're just now essentially always going to be behind TikTok because half the stuff that they were trying to do just wasn't even working anyways, right? Like the sounds never, the lengths, like TikTok now has 3-minute long videos, which I think is interesting because then now they're kind of moving into longer form video content. But the other thing with Instagram is they're never going to be the leader of video content because YouTube and TikTok have already basically like grabbed that spot. So they'd have to come up with something extremely innovative for them to pave the way, but their track record of features is pretty bad. No one really watches IGTV. No one really watches, people watch Reels, but again, they're all just like repurposed TikToks. And so it's just kind of like, I'd be interested to see what they come up with now at this point. And so the last thing is they're obviously completely ignoring what their consumers want, which is a problem because it's like their consumers are the ones that are buying from brands. Their consumers are the ones that are even on the app to begin with. So it's like, why would you ignore what they want? I don't even know. It makes no sense. But moving on to what this means for business owners and consumers, and actually 1 second because I need to fix the lighting. Okay, I also went ahead and fixed my hair because I just did not like the way it looked before. But anyways, so what does this really mean now for business owners and consumers? And for consumers, I mean, for people who originally like to consume just photos, they're now no longer going to be able to do that, right? It's all going to be video, which isn't what they want, but that's what content creators are going to have to be forced to do, if that makes sense. What this might end up doing, I'd be interested to, I'm predicting this. I don't know if this is true, but it might halt their use of Instagram or decrease it slowly, which obviously then is going to affect businesses that actually use this platform to advertise, because there's going to be an overwhelming amount of businesses versus an underwhelming amount of consumers. So it kind of has like this butterfly effect that I don't think that Instagram like really thought of when making this decision. Because, and then also, like I said, it's going to push people away. It's going to push people to Herd Social or wherever these other new businesses are going to pop up, you know? Now, for businesses who relied on this platform to make money, they're going to need to get either creative or branch out to other lucrative platforms. So speaking specifically about bloggers, influencers, or photographers, they're either going to need to have video forward content, which is what their audience does not want from them specifically on Instagram, or they're going to need to switch to a platform like Pinterest that favors photos still. And a side note about that is I'd be interested to see if Pinterest can use this opportunity to dominate the photo sharing market with some new features. I know like their home feed, I like their home feed for a reason, because it's like specifically curated about like pictures that you've been looking at. But I wonder if like, because I know they have a following tab, right? But I wonder if there would be a way for them to kind of like mimic Instagram's grid or something, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'd be interested because I feel like they're the next person in line as of right now who could come close to that. So now, for people who offered social media management to business owners, this is probably going to mean a few things. Number one, it's going to be more work on your end to somehow create video content. I don't know about you guys, but when I was managing social media pages, I hated doing TikToks and reels for people, because it's like half the time you have to wait for them to send you the product, or they're really picky about like where you're filming it, which I get. Like I'm not complaining that they're picky, but it just makes it difficult if like you're going to need to probably raise your prices essentially to reflect this work. Like I know there's people who their job is specifically to make content for local businesses, and they charge like $5,000 a month to go and take photos like once a month for these businesses, and then they use those photos. Like that's very smart. And you guys might need to like, you know, maybe switch to local businesses if that means helping them make, you know, the video content. Or offering some sort of hand-holding service, you know, like consulting, or like probably having to like get on calls with people to show them how to do it. Which again, like I said, this might mean consulting becomes more of a thing rather than just like actually done for you, if that makes sense. Again, these are all things that I'm just personally thinking about. I'm not saying that this is exactly what's going to happen or whatever. I could be totally off, but just it's kind of like where my brain's going with all this. And so this might open up more opportunities for people to start creating reels and videos for people, obviously, which then means more money given the demand of work that goes into something like this. So, you know, supply and demand. It might mean that if there's more people needing video content, then you guys will be able to start charging more if you're good at it, obviously. Like if you're not good at video content, then I wouldn't recommend charging a ton. It's so funny to me. I'm going to try to find a way to verbalize this, but the needs of the consumers come in waves, and it's like you have to learn how to ride the wave in order to make money. Like now you're going to have to pivot into video stuff, right? TikToks, reels, and whatever. And it's like eventually that's not going to be the thing anymore. It's going to be something else. You're going to have to relearn it. It's like it's almost like your skills have to always be changing. And side note, this is why I love having a podcast, because this is too much to talk about in Instagram stories, right? I don't know. I'd be so interested. If you guys have thoughts about this, like DM me on Instagram at LexiD Coaching. I'd seriously love to know. For me personally, like, so, okay, so for people like me who advertise their services on Instagram, right? So I have my coaching business and my target audience are online service providers. Okay. So I have to rely on them to be on social media in order for me to get business for my consulting services, LinkedIn and Upwork. So I don't really have to worry about that as much. But as you can see, is I'm personally implementing an omni-channel approach now, right? I obviously have Instagram, but over 3,000 followers on TikTok. I have this podcast now. And I'm obviously trying to do the YouTube thing. I'm just not really sure how, like, what direction I'm trying to take that in. And I plan on bringing like my website back and offering like exclusive content on there. Like, so what's great about this is that I won't need to rely so much on Instagram. I can actually leave my house and do more things because, okay, let's just think about this for a second. If you guys are someone who has to sell on Instagram constantly, odds are you're having to have tons of DM conversations. You're having to be on stories all the time. Like, it's exhausting. It's hard to take time off. But if you have an omni-channel approach, right, and you're constantly bringing leads in, it's like, you could have it all automated. You have an email list. So you send an email out to people, right? Like that way, if you don't post on stories that one day, it's not a big deal. Or you have TikTok, right? Like that TikTok has a longer lifespan than an Instagram story, or you go on LinkedIn, or you have a podcast that people can binge. So you don't even need to worry. Like, that's what's great about it. And here's the other thing to think about, you guys, is a lot of people are going to be doing the same thing as me. People are wanting to leave their house and get out more. I've spent the last 4 years basically being a recluse for my own reasons. But obviously then with quarantine, it made it even harder. And now everyone's leaving. So this is why it's important for you to cast your net on a variety of platforms, because your target audience is going to be going out just as much as you. So it's like, think about how you want to be marketed to, if you're someone that's like, I don't spend a lot of time on Instagram at all, don't even do it. Don't even bother at that point. Have it there, but don't put your effort into it. Like if you know personally that's just not where. Also, sorry if you guys can hear my chair. That's super embarrassing. But that's kind of like my thoughts about it. So here's kind of what I suggest business owners do next. First of all, stop relying so much on Instagram. Digital marketing is only as good as the platforms allow for us to be, if that makes sense. Like, we could have all these strategies, we could have like digital marketing, all of this crap, but it's like, if the platforms and the algorithms aren't good and they're not giving us what we want, it's kind of like defeats the purpose. So I'm starting to notice a trend that people are caring more about in person. They're caring more about genuine connections with people. And unfortunately, with social media, it's extremely hard to get to that point, which brings me to what I think you guys should do next, which is switch to traditional marketing tactics, or at least implement them more. So word of mouth marketing, which then goes into client retention, which means, having to do a very, very good job with clients that you already have, as well as like in-person events. I think networking events are going to become like a very big and popular thing. I know Jen is already, my business coach has already kind of talked about that, but just reiterating the fact that in-person events, I think, are going to be conferences. You guys, like, you have to be okay with getting out again and talking to people, because no one is spending it. Like, think about it. It's like being grounded as a kid. Like, the second you're done being grounded, you're like, I've got to have a sleepover every freaking day next week, like, or I've got to do this. And so it's kind of like, that's how people were, is, they were tired of being inside and now they're gone. And then, so here's the third thing, is to diversify yourself. So get on multiple platforms, like build an email list, build a podcast subscription. Someone who does a really good job of this, who I can personally think of right now, is Cody Ko, who's a YouTuber. He has a YouTube channel. He has podcast with his partner, Noel. They have a joint Patreon account. They have a joint YouTube channel. They make music. Like, that's a very, very good example of someone who's diversified themselves on multiple platforms, right? And then the last thing is finding what makes you unique. I feel like this is really important, because it's like, again, with people not being home as much, or people having to be on different platforms, it's going to be important to kind of like stand out and be known for something and be remembered for something. Otherwise, you're just going to get lost in the crowd. Like, and same thing with networking events, like being unique at networking events and having something special to bring to the table. Again, so that's really all I have to say about it. I don't know how long this episode has been so far. A few things I want to note about Instagram. I do want to talk about quickly the things that I was going to originally talk about. I don't like that people are relying so much on Reels, because the algorithm is so fucked up. Like, it's like I consistently can pull in about 2,000 views in the first 2 hours of a reel, and then that's it. And then I had one go viral, got over 600,000 views, and I guarantee 90% of that, probably more, wasn't even my target audience. I gained probably 400 followers from that one reel, and then ended up that I'm losing them because they're not my target audience. And so it's like, that's again why Instagram needs to just chill, because TikTok's algorithm is great. Like your TikToks are found by the right people, hence the For You page. They've done an amazing job with that For You page. Instagram Reels makes absolutely no sense, literally at all. And it's super annoying. I also don't like the fact that you have to be as active as you do. Like with TikTok, consistency is important, and posting like 1 to 2 like times a day, even just once a day, honestly, is sustainable. That's easy to do. You batch them and you're done. But with Instagram, it's like, God, you have to post a fucking a graphic, then you have to hop on stories, then you have to post 5 reels a day or whatever. It's just ridiculous. Like, why would you want to rely on Instagram at this point? Like, I genuinely am not going to do it anymore. Like, I'm slowly building out a funnel to where I can funnel people in on all different types of platforms to an email list and eventually sell through something like that. Because if Instagram is on this path that they're going, I guarantee they probably have another 3 years and then they're done. Like literally not even 3 years. Honestly, I probably give it less time because of how quickly people are busting things out at this point. It's just, I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it. I would be down to talk about this more. But in terms of, Instagram, rest in peace, because you're probably not going to be around for much longer. Business owners, stop relying on it. With that being said, I'm going to do a shameless plug. So I have my 4-week long program, Stand Out and Sell Out. It's going live in September. It's a live group coaching program essentially, and we're going to be talking all about standing out, not falling for industry trends. The science behind being an individual, the science behind learning your ICA. It's very research based stuff. It's not surface level. I've done a lot of research on neuromarketing and consumer psychology that went into this program. Super stoked. If you're listening to this before September, you can probably still put down a deposit if you want, or depending on what time you're listening to this podcast, obviously the program might be done. So I don't know, but that's what's fun about this kind of thing. So anyways, that's all I got to say. You guys go ahead, and if you like watching me and you haven't done it already, that sounds super creepy. But basically what I'm saying is check me out on YouTube. I kind of want to like mess around with that and see what I can do. I'm super excited about it. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, obviously, even though I hate it. Website's going to be live eventually, probably in about a month. So all those things will be linked down below. And thank you guys so much. I'm so freaking happy to have this podcast again. It feels so good and I feel natural compared to my last episode. So, and I guess that's it. So I still don't have a podcast editor, so I'm going to try to exit out as normal as possible. So